Okay, hey guys, I told in one of my Minecraft videos that I would be doing one of these, and so I'm about to brew another beer, and said I'd go through the process. First off, I know my mom's gonna watch this, so hi Mom. And this is all the accoutrements I have. This is a yeast starter that I made yesterday. It just finished bubbling this morning. I got my bottle of bleach, clearly marked everywhere there's bees, because I do not want to mix it up with this solution, which is star sand. This is a sanitizing solution. It's acid based, and I put it in a spray bottle so I can hit everything, because I like to keep everything absolutely sanitary. We got a whole sink full of the solution with all my stuff in there. There's a fountain pump and one of my old beer bottles. That's a fountain pump. And I bought a couple 20-pound bags of ice in there. There's 2 in that cooler. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook that pump to this wort chiller that's sanitizing in here. And I'll run the wort chiller. Well, we'll get to that. Anyway, that's a wort chiller. These are all bottling tubes and siphoning tubes. Back to, here's the gravity thermometer. I don't know how good you can see this. This is what we're going to use to test our starting gravity. And I'll show you how to use that when we get to there. And to start off, I usually don't do these. This one got good reviews. I get all my beer from a place called Midwest Brewing Supplies, so shout out to them. This is called Mutton's Connoisseurs Nut Brown Ale. The glass looks good. We'll see if it looks that good when I get done with it. That's beef jerky. I made that, Mom. Anyway, panning over to here, there's the tripod I will be putting everything on, and this is my tiny kitchen. For those of you who don't know, I'm in Germany, so this is my tiny apartment's kitchen hole area. Here's my brew pot. So we're going to be brewing stuff, and here's my thermometer. Basically, like I said, I've never done one of these before. I usually do kits. I don't have enough room to do full grain yet, and neither do I have the expertise. So I do a partial mash, basically with steeping grains, and that'll be it. We'll get right into it. With movie magic, now our water is boiling at 212 degrees. What I did is I heated up this can of hop malt extract in my sink of hot water that was also sanitized to make it easier to pour. This is what it looks like. It's a black morass of goop. I don't know if you can see that very good. Anyways, I'm going to pour this in nice and slow so that it doesn't hit the bottom and scorch. Alright, so we let it boil. Right, putting all that stuff into it. Dropped it from a boil. We let it come back to a boil and let it boil off. I don't know the name. It's like phenol something, whatever. That's why you don't ever want to put a pot, top pot when it's coming back to a boil, because all that stuff gathers in condensation and drips right back in. And it makes a funny taste in beer. So when you're initially bringing the water to a boil, it's fine to do, because it takes forever on an electric stove. So you want to put a cup, or not a cup, but the lid on it. And then after you put it in, and it's become the wort, spelled W-O-R-T. You don't want to cover it. Let it boil. Anyways, now I've got a contraption that I got off of a beer brewing forum. It's not really a contraption, but an idea. It's a good idea. Oh, don't make a mess. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we've got a bucket full of ice. And I'm going to fill this up with water for just a little bit. Splash. Be prepared to make a mess wherever you're doing this, because if you're not, you're just going to piss yourself off. Especially when it comes to bottling day. That's even more messy. Unless you got a keg. That's awesome. Okay, what we did is we let this thing run for about 10 minutes. I left my thermometer in there. I let the temperature drop to just a little over 100. So what we're going to do is we're going to use my siphon it out of here to prevent any more aeration until it's ready. Actually, no, it is ready for aeration right about now, about 100. Turn that off. Take the work chiller out. Like I said, you're going to make a little bit of a mess, so don't get too mad about it. Just come to peace with it. Alright. This is another place. This is sanitized, all of it. Sanitary solution there. And this is so you don't put your mouth on anywhere, because you know, germs. You don't want germs in your stuff. Going to here. Got it. Make sure your spigot is off. Turn it to the right, because I did that over here. Yeah, here we go. A little downward stroke, and easy as that. You let it sit in there. But I'm going to hold it off to the bottom, so as it splashes, it aerates. And then once this is done, it's going to take about 10-20 minutes. Once this is done, we'll go back to you. All right. Let it strain out, not strain, siphon out until it got close to the bottom. And then I took this guy here and I strained it the best way to get the hot particles out. Because I don't want them in there in the end when we go to bottle. It's a pain in the butt. And I don't want to have to do a secondary, which is basically where you take it from one bucket after about 2 weeks, put it in another bucket to take it off the hops and old yeast. I don't want to do that because you got a bigger chance of getting an infection in your beer that way. So what I'm going to do is, if you look in the bucket, it's up to about 3 gallons, and I'm going to make up the last 2 gallons with ice. It's a 20-pound bag. And because ice is water frozen, it's going to pretty much displace the same amount of water, you know, as if you were to fill it up. And bam. I'm going to let that melt. Okay, so what we did is had to add a little bit of extra hot water that I boiled first because water wasn't quite as hot as I needed it to be to melt all the ice. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take off the air lock or fermentation lock off the yeast starter. Set it off to the side here. And I'm just going to pour in the yeast. All of it. All the stuff off the bottom here. See how it's stuck to the bottom? Get it all. Get all that yeast. So what this did is, because I added this is the stuff that came with the can. You never know if that stuff's still alive or how viable it is. So if you make a yeast starter, you're guaranteed, I mean, if it doesn't do anything, obviously they're all dead. And even if most of them are dead, if you get a good yeast starter, what it will do is have a stronger yeast and a stronger fermentation because you have a lot more viable yeast. Quick edges. Alright, we're going to put the lid on, seal it the whole way around, and this is my other fermentation lock. We'll put this in here, just like so. Make sure it's a little wet with sanitizer, because it gets dry, and if you push on it, it'll push the whole grommet into your brew, and you don't want that. So sanitizer is kind of slippery, so get some sanitizer around it. Twist it in, don't just force it in, ease it in like a gentleman after you lube it up. And this is the float bulb. Add that. And we're going to take some of this sanitary solution, not bleach, and some people use vodka. I don't have any vodka, I like to drink my vodka. And you add it into the fermentation, or the fermentation lock, or the air lock, all the way up to this line right here. And then you'll see it come off the bottom. A little bit more in there. There. Put on the lid. It's got no hole, or it's got holes in it. And what this does, yeah, see the holes? See the light anyway? Okay. What this thing does, obviously it's called an air lock. but it doesn't force air, or not force, but prevent air from escaping. It lets it escape and not let it in. Because when this stuff starts to ferment, the yeast, they're going to eat and eat and eat all those fermentable sugars, and they're going to fart CO2, and that's what makes beer bubbly. And when they fart that CO2, it's got to have somewhere to go. Otherwise, this is going to go boop, way off. And that's what causes bottle bombs. We'll get to that when we start bottling. But it's going to allow the CO2 to escape and no air to get back in. So we're going to leave this alone for about 2.5 weeks, and then we're going to bottle it. Alright? Okay. Now, the final step, which I nearly forgot until I went to go review my videos and was like, oh yeah. This is we're going to check the gravity. Now I'm not sure if you're able to see that. Focus, shake, focus. Zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. Okay, well, anyways, this is basically, so I'm going to test the gravity here. Alright, and let this sink down. And try to get all the bubbles off so you can see it. Just give it a little spin so it doesn't stick to the side. And it's looking like we are at, let's see, a starting gravity, you can't see, of 0.40. Alright, so that's pretty good. 0.40. Usually 0.45 is about the norm. And basically what this is going to do is it gives you a way to calculate how the final ABV is going to be. And hold on, mine's an easy read, so 0.40 will finish out to about 5%, which is pretty good. It's about a standard German beer. Oh, I'm staring at the counter. Yeah, I don't know if you can read it. Hold on, let me. Can you see that? Oh, there's no way to tell until. Well, let me get the light on. Light. There we go. Alright, it start at 0.40. See? Give it a little spin. Focus, focus. 5%. So, and when it finishes out, that's how you know when it stops fermenting. You'll see where it says beer, handy dandy. It should be around there. 0. No, that's what I'm looking for. No gravity. 0 gravity. And basically what happens is 0 gravity is water. See? Let me get this camera so I to hold it better. Let's fill this up with water and I'll show you. Water has no gravity. And as far as this goes, I'm going to fill it just about all the way up. You'll see, because there's no fermentable sugars in it, and that's what causes the quote-unquote gravity. Is it not touching the bottom? Yeah, just barely. And you'll notice, bam. Can you see? It's right at 0. Because there's no fermentable sugars in water, so there's going to be no thickness substance to cause this air pocket that's in this glass tube to rise out of its test tube. So yeah, that's pretty much that in a nutshell. And you want to check it about maybe a week into it. I mean, as long as your fermentation lock is still steadily bubbling away, still some action going on in there. Otherwise, when you see the bubbles stop altogether, so when you want to take a final gravity test, and when it reads 0, you're done. You're ready to bottle, unless you want it to age a little bit, which is just fine.